I'm here in beautiful Knoxville, Tennessee. There's a monument in the Fort Sanders area that some people want to have removed, and some people want to keep. Some people are called alt-right, some are called anti-fascists. Let's take a closer look at this particular protest and details of the police response. So, welcome to Counter-Terrorism Roll Call. I'm your host, Holt Clark. Today we're going to veer a little bit away from our normal topic of terrorism, but on a related subject, and that are the protests, counter-protests of the alt-right and the anti-fascists or Antifa. Now, this episode is definitely not about politics. It's about one particular protest and one jurisdiction's response. And that's the August 26, 2017 protest in Knoxville, Tennessee. 2 weeks following the Charlottesville protest. However, there was a very different outcome, and that was because of the planning, the heavy police presence in quantity and quality, and some luck. There's an area of Knoxville known as Fort Sanders, not far from the University of Tennessee. As a matter of fact, a lot of students live there. It's also home to 2 large hospitals. It's also the home for one relatively small, relatively plain monument. It commemorates the Confederate soldiers who died during the assault on Fort Sanders. Now, this monument was placed here on November 29th of 2014 by the Daughters of the Confederacy. Following Charlottesville, there were petitions to remove this monument. There were petitions to keep this monument. The rally was planned by those who wanted to keep the monument, and they were labeled alt-right or white supremacists. The rally participants included about 36 people, plus all the press that were on their side of the street. On the other side of the street, the counter-protesters, there were about 2,800. And there were 300 plus police, but there were no injuries, no deaths, and only 1 arrest. And I believe much of the credit goes to the Knoxville Police Department and the agencies that supported them, as well as a little bit of luck. Here are some of the things that I saw. But first, what I didn't see. I didn't see any KKK, skinheads, Nazis, or Antifa. I didn't see any hardcore on either side. I saw some angry people, but none of those people that you really associate with these events. There were lots of protest signs. Being clever was highly prized, but rarely achieved.
Whoa, sign, sign, everywhere a sign, blocking out to see and re-breaking my mind. Do this, don't do that, can't you read the sign?
There were counter-protesters handing out flyers, giving instructions on what to do if you're arrested, as well as sheets that included chants. There was lots of chanting.
No hate, no KKK, no fascist, USA.
That's popular.
Okay, no hate, no KKK, no fascist, USA. No hate, no KKK, no fascist, USA.
As well as chanting, there was a lot of taunting on both sides.
You pissed me off now coming over here!
Oh, Master Race!
We can't hear you!
Master Race!
I saw media interviews. I saw YouTube Alex Jones wannabes.
The police let in Black Lives Matter and said it all over their shirts.
On the protester side, I also saw some real dialogue and even debate that ended well. What I didn't see on either side was any anti-police. As a matter of fact, it was pro-police on both sides.
Very much. God bless you all.
When the protest was announced to be over by the law enforcement, there were cheers and thanks to the police officers, and everyone just goes home. Now, I only saw one man with the Antifa starter kit, the weighted gloves, the respirator, a two-way radio indicating he was working with someone else. It's unclear how he got these items in, but when I saw him, I pointed him out to a couple of officers near me, but they already had eyes on him. as well as the observation post above had eyes on him, as well as some undercovers nearby had some eyes on him, and the sheriff's helicopter probably had eyes on him like he was Henry Hill in the final scenes of Goodfellas. I want to compare and contrast what I saw in Knoxville to what I saw on the news in Berkeley and Charlottesville. First of all, the people. The people there were much more hardcore. True skinhead and KKK members and real Antifa. People who were there ready for a fight. People in homemade and store-bought tactical gear with shields and clubs. Some carrying long guns and sidearms and carrying pepper spray and throwing bottles of urine and feces. What you didn't see was any proactive police response. So, what did I see in Knoxville that went right? Now remember, this is an outsider's perspective. I didn't have any official interview with any of the Knoxville Police Department staff, but I was told a few things. Number one, they watched a lot of game film. They looked at Charlotte, they looked at Berkeley, they looked at those films and said, what can we do better? They had every officer not on patrol standing on that street, as well as county deputies, state troopers, and officers from nearby jurisdictions. They had a lot of support to the main event. They had an off-site command post. They had a forward observation post on a rooftop. They had helicopter operations above. They had fire and EMS as logistics. And something that I think will become standard to many events in the future, Public Works supported by bringing some of their largest trucks and blocking off all the streets, preventing any kind of vehicle attack. So, as you approach the main protest site, you see the main complement of police officers. Each side of the street has an entrance and a barricaded section, one for the protesters, one for the counter-protesters, and at the beginning of each is an area to search, to wand, to go through bags. And prior to the protest, the Knoxville Police Department publicized a list of what can and can't go in, and it was pretty extensive and it was pretty obvious. No weapons. Can't do Bruce Lee. No blades. No long guns. No handguns. No pipes. No shields. And no masks. Of course, the main police presence were those professional men and women wearing full riot gear, standing in 90-degree plus heat for hours down that center line, acting very professional, never making jokes, never making comments to the protesters. But supporting them were lots of staff officers. There were sergeants, lieutenants, captains, even deputy chiefs were there to answer questions instantly. Is this allowed? Should we put this in? What about what's happening over there? Decisions were made quickly. There was never a chance for anything to go out of hand because of that. Those staff officers were also there to hand out bottles of water. The fire department would bring in coolers and coolers of water because it was so hot. The staff officers would remove the cap and hand the bottle to the protesters. Hopefully they wouldn't fill it with something else and throw it back at the police later. Now, law enforcement also allowed all kinds of discussions and displays, even fits and tantrums, as long as there was no danger. Only one time did I see police have to step in. There was a group of people in Black Lives Matter t-shirts who went down the protesters' side near the monument. Things got heated. Law enforcement stepped in very quickly. And kind of ushered those people out and diffused the situation quickly. It was really good police work, stopped anything from happening. There was only one arrest. The newspaper reported the next day that a woman was found to have a bottle of liquid in her bag at one of the checkpoints and refused to give it up and then resisted arrest. If you remember in the beginning, I said it took planning, good police work, and luck to get the kind of results Knoxville did. Now, if you have good planning and good police work, you tend to get a lot of good luck. But don't get me wrong, it would have only taken one person to create a major event. But I felt confident that the officers, deputies, and troopers that were there on the scene could have handled anything that came up. Now, in our next episode, I want to drill a little bit deeper into the Antifa movement. Are they actually a terrorist organization? As usual, we're going to look into their own words. Until next time on Counterterrorism Roll Call, be alert and be safe. Thanks for watching. Please visit our sponsor, patriotthreads.org, and stay tuned for a special offer from them. Would you do me a favor and hit the like button? And if you haven't yet, subscribe. If you want to know more about me, go to my website, follow me on Twitter, or just run me on NCIC. I'll see you next week on Counterterrorism Roll Call. Until then, be alert, be safe. PatriotThreads.org is apparel with a purpose. Patriot Threads offers state-themed, game day to outdoor lifestyle apparel, like the new line of Southern Trout shirts and introducing the new Back the Blue shirts. All are 100% printed in the USA. Are you looking for a new, exciting, profitable fundraiser? PatriotThreads.org would love to help. Go to their website for details. Use promo code ROLLCALL at checkout and you can save 20% on the sale. And Patriot Threads will donate 20% of the profits to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund. PatriotThreads.org is a proud sponsor of the men and women of law enforcement.